Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Connect podcast. I am your co-host, SnowyGee. Today, we're here at Life Learning Academy with Teri Delane and our host, Miss Natalie Ortiz. And I'll let you guys say hello to the people out there.
Hey world, thank you for tuning in. And yes, I believe this is going to get all over the world. So, hey world, thanks for tuning in. I'm super excited to be interviewing Teri, and I'm going to let Teri kind of introduce herself a little bit, your background, who you are, just what this is, where we're at.
So, hello everybody. I am thrilled. My name is Teri Delane. I would like to give you my formal title, which is Dr. Teri Delane, co-director, co-executive director, and co-founder of Life Learning Academy. 25 years we have been quietly saving lives on Treasure Island for high school students. And if you want to ask questions, or do you want me just to kind of dive in, or, however you guys want to do it, I'm so thrilled to be here with both of you beautiful, young, community-minded women. Happy.
Thank you, Teri. And yeah, we can, talk a little bit about this episode real quick, right? What is this episode all about, right? Resiliency.
Yes, definitely. So this episode is technically our second episode on resiliency, right? So we're going to be bringing you all a bunch of stories in community, speaking about resiliency, because we are resilient women and we are living in a resilient world with a resilient community. And so that goes hand in hand with what Ms. Teri is doing here at Life Learning Academy and changing lives of resilient students in this resilient school. How about we start off with your why, right? So I think that in anything that you do in life, you have to have your why. And when you have your why, that drives more passion for you to take the steps that are needed to complete your mission, right? So what is your why?
Yeah, I actually was talking to one of my students the other day who was really having a hard time. As you see where we are sitting, this is where I am every day. I am a principal that sees every kid walk through the door to look in their eyes and make sure that they're okay. And if they're not, we're going to try to sit down and talk with them. I was kicked out of school in the 9th grade. I was telling one of my kids the other day that the thing that drives me is there's one story that I have never, ever forgotten in my life, and that is being 17 years old, sitting on the curb in Las Vegas, Nevada, with 2 black eyes, and beat up, and no one to call. And what drives me is I don't want any students, kids, young people to ever feel that they don't have somebody to call. Everybody has to have somebody to call. And, I am someone that had a needle in my arm at age 14. From age 14 to 20, I was a heroin addict. I was getting arrested a lot as a kid. I spent a year locked up. Everyone in my family's an addict. And the last time that I woke up in the hospital from an overdose, I was 20 years old. And the person that was there was not family. He was a guy who used to follow me around on the streets and tell me that I'm better than this, that I'm smarter than this, and try to help me. I didn't want his help. But the last time I woke up in the hospital, I made a decision for whatever reason that I don't want to die. My 2 best friends that were my family both died before age 20 of heroin overdoses. That's when he told me, you're getting up out of this hospital, you're going to San Francisco, and I went to Delancey Street and found a community of love, of family, and teaching me how to bounce back, which is what we're talking about. The ability to bounce back and use your story, which is all we really have. I have degrees. I now have a doctorate degree. So I like some people to call me Dr. Delane. But the bottom line is I am who I am because of my background and because of the community that was built around me. And so Life Learning Academy was started with that in mind, with it in mind for students that want to learn the process of change. So we teach what I call radical love. I better stop so I can allow you guys to give me any questions if you'd like. And because I will go on and on and on and tell you everything that you need to know about some of our kids and the amazing things that we're doing here.
No, this is amazing. I've actually been working the last year and a half, in overdose awareness. So like it really hits home, and I know overdoses are just rising and rising with fentanyl and everything. So like now I'm just a little bit curious, like if there's anything incorporated in Life Learning Academy, the work that I was doing, we were training youth to go into schools and places to talk to youth about erasing the stigma of substance use,
Right.
So I'm just curious if there's anything like that here.
Very much so. What you need to know about our high school is that we're not just a high school, we are a community organization that saves kids from every single thing you can think of, from getting a job, having housing, which we can talk about, first free housing for students that are living unstably, right behind our school. They wake up every day, come out of their building and go to their classes. One of the classes that I brought back to the school when we started this semester was the fact that, and I'm not going to weigh in about whether marijuana should be legal or not. I am only going to talk about the impact that it has on our teenagers and the fact that when I was growing up, it was coming right out of the ground. It's no longer just coming out of the ground. And some of these kids are getting marijuana that's laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
And it's really frightening and scary to me. So I make it clear to them, number one, I don't want you to smoke, not because I have a judgment about it, but because I want you to do more than that. I want you to be aware through our teachings. We taught a class on what's the impact marijuana has on the teenage brain. The anxiety that they think makes the anxiety go away. For the moment it does, but they wake up the next day with anxiety tripled. So I'm really concerned about that. So yes, we absolutely do talk about that.
Definitely. This is obviously going to let others know what LLA is all about, right? This interview, that's our goal. Like, what is LLA all about? And just a little bit about maybe even a story of a student, or I know, or students, that are either now grown, just any story, any testimonials that you might want to share that really shares what the impact that this place has on youth.
It's so exciting because the first person I can think of when we're talking about a story is one of our kids that was born in Malaysia, and he comes from a really abusive background. I got him from a shelter. Actually, he heard about us through a shelter in San Francisco, called us, and he's been living in our dorm for a year. He is someone who he's a kid who's from East Oakland, and he was attending Oakland Tech. He, on his own, no family. He has no family. He basically was living homeless. And when his mom would come back around, there was a lot of abuse going on. He said he used to play lacrosse, and he was really good at it. So this kid would manage with what was going on in his life to get up. You talk about resiliency. Wow. Get up every day, go to school, play lacrosse, be a top player on the lacrosse team. But he told me, he said, it got to a point where I was so depressed that I couldn't get up out of bed. And, one of his friends kept calling, and we need you back in our team. Our team misses you. But he said, I just couldn't do it. I just felt so alone and nothing. He's moved into our dorm. This is a grateful, happy, thriving, straight A's. He has a desire to be in the Coast Guard. Yeah. Through our connections, just this weekend, he got to meet a captain with the Coast Guard that took him on a tour.
Wow.
They bought him a suit.
Oh, wow.
One of the captains took him and showed him how to do a tie. And what got my heart was he told me that, he said, I started crying because no one has ever taught me how to tie a tie. And I've never had a dad to teach me that, so I felt like some hope. So all of those stories, every student here gets a personal one-on-one interview with me before they start school, because I don't want to hear from anybody else. I want to hear from them.
Yes.
What do you want?
Yes.
What is your dream for your life? I want to hear your voice. Whether someone agrees or don't agree, I want to hear it.
Yes.
And then we're going to move forward with what it is that you want.
Yes, exactly. I love that because I feel like oftentimes, there's a lot of meetings happening about students and their behavior and the things that they're, struggling with, or, and I'm grateful that they mention even their strengths, but I often feel like the student having that voice of saying, this is what I need and this is what I want, like, how could you
That's
help
right.
me attain that? Like, it's so key, because this whole talking about students when they're not in the room, to talk about, why they reacted this way in class, or why they're not in class and in the hallways, right? Like,
Yeah.
and them not being able to have this, like, this voice, sometimes it's just, it doesn't make too much sense to me.
And then in that space, right, as a teenager, where you're like, oh, like, you're given all this responsibility. You're in this space where, like, you have to make all these decisions and things, and, like, you're expected to do certain things and behave a certain way and be like an adult, but then not given the space to have those conversations. So, like,
Have a voice
that's
in it.
key. That's powerful. And I heard you say hope, right? So I feel like when I think of hope and talking about resiliency, like, hope is that spark that just, like, lights that flame of resiliency, So, like, that in itself is just life-changing, I think. And, like, I just want to mention how we were just doing the tour, and I, like, really just started crying, like, 'cause it's just so beautiful to think, And, like, I come from a home of a single mom, the oldest of 5, and, like, it was hectic my teenage years in high school specifically, right? And I think about all these things that I went through, and thankfully there's a lot of amazing people that I met throughout my life, and I'm like, I was okay, but, like, to be able to have somewhere to go, somewhere to sleep, like, you think about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like, what is a very basic need? It's food and shelter. Like, if someone especially youth, doesn't have that in this world, like, it's almost impossible to really help them, see that spark. So I just want to say you're doing an amazing job here. Like, it's just beautiful. I'm, like, taken aback, like really. And another question, like, I guess, and then we've been touching on this a lot, but how, what do you feel that that LLA does to really build the resiliency, and not build the resiliency, but how do you say, nurture the
Beautiful.
resiliency? Yeah.
Beautiful word. I think that it's really important when you're talking about behavior. The one thing they can't do is threaten anybody here. We're a nonviolent community, but everything else I'm going to work with. And for example, a couple weeks ago, there was a student that was kind of acting out in his English class. Smart, strong kid. And really acting out and kind of like, I don't want to do this, or whatever he's saying. I don't care, And the teacher sends me a note. And I go back and I kind of pull her out and I said, let me explain to you what's important here.
You pulled out the teacher?
Yes. I had somebody go in and watch the children, so nobody get worried that I'm going to pull the teacher out and nobody. I said, let me explain to you that 1 year ago, at this very week, this kid's father was killed. He was shot on the week that school started. This is a time, maybe he doesn't know it, but I know it, that he's feeling lost. He lost his dad, and we will help him get through it. If he acts out a little bit in class, he can come out here and sit out here with us, go sit in the office, we'll make him some tea, we'll go outside and sit by the chickens, and then eventually he will go back to class. And the resiliency will build and will build. It will not be, well, get out, get out, get out, I don't like your behavior, you're disrespectful. All of that, I'm not interested in none of that.
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing what's happening with you. Are you okay? How can we help you get past this?
Yes.
That's what it is.
I'm a firm believer that, like, for me, for example, like, I was that kid in schools, you know, I was that kid. I went to 4 different middle schools. I went to, like, two different high schools. Like, you know, I was that kid, but I think, like, there was times where I was in the hallways where, like, the night before something horrible had happened and I couldn't tell nobody because, you know, I couldn't, like, at that time, I didn't know where safe was really, what it really looked like or where I can find it at that moment, you know, and so there was so many things. I remember, so many just different things that I was going through. I know that, for example, like, I know my mom was struggling with depression after her divorce, right, and, like, that caused, like, a lot of, I think she threw herself into work more and then kind of just, tried her best with us. But I'm just a firm believer that I didn't even really know what resilience was until now, because of the times that I was able to, like, okay, I fell and then I got back up. I fell and then I got back up. And after time, right? And so sometimes when we fall is when we're acting out, right? When we're falling, like, sometimes I'm so grateful for, you know, the way you pull out a teacher and not the student, right, to say, like, hey, you know, because you're so right, you know, there's still adults that I know that on the week of a loss, and even me, on, like, when birthdays come up for friends that I've lost that were so close to me, or just I've seen it in adults as well, where, you know, our behavior changes and either, you know, it's too much, you know, just trauma and re-trigger, you know, it's re-triggering in that time, and you feel it in your body and you feel it in your
And
stomach.
sometimes you don't even know,
You don't
right?
even know that that's what's, you're like, oh, like,
That's
this
like,
must be because it's so-and-so's birthday or the anniversary when they, you know, when they pass and stuff. And so, you know, I feel like sometimes we forget, and as educators, sometimes educators can forget that, yes, they do need to pass this test and we do need to have these grades and they need to be in their seat time, you know, because if not, the absences and all these things matter, yes, but it doesn't, like, hurt to give someone a day or some time, you know, to just be like, hey, we got you and you're going to bounce back up after. Like, it's okay to feel it, right? I was thinking about it today, and honestly, you know, I was like telling Dana, you cried when you were out there. I cried before I got here. Like, it was definitely, like, but it was because I was thinking about how you get to a place, and just listening to your story about when you decided that you didn't want to die anymore, like, that, you know, that you didn't want to get to that point. It was like you have to acknowledge that you have to be resilient about something in order to activate it. You have to acknowledge, you have to be humble enough to say, you know, hey, like, I'm down and I need to get back up. And sometimes some of our young people don't know when they're down and or that the fact that they could get back up from it, right? Sometimes it feels hopeless, especially when you're young and you haven't seen that over time. Like, you could do it. You can get through this. Like, you know, and I'm super, like, with working with youth, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, it's okay to feel this way and you're gonna get back up. I promise.
Giving them that space to acknowledge those feelings and emotions, you know, it could be everything. Like, I mean, we've all seen it, I think, in people that we know or anything, where it's like, when they don't have that space to acknowledge, like, oh, I'm feeling this way, then it becomes anger, you know, it becomes frustration. And like, but it takes someone with that empathy, that human aspect of, like, okay, this person, like, just really needs their space, you know, so that's life-changing.
And with you too, I mean, your stories, your spark, your light is what gives everybody else under you coming up, their light and their belief in hope and change. And, you know, for us, the process of change really encompasses three things for us that we teach them that are things that they can live their life by. One, stop, think, and decide. Wherever you are, stop and think before you do something, because it takes 2 seconds to end up going south.
Yeah.
Number two, learn how to act as if, which we all have to do in our jobs and everywhere else, to smile and get through it, do a good job, because we need to, so that we can be impactful for others, right? And three, giving back. Because for me, I started out this semester with a message to all the teachers and the students. Do more. We're going to do more this year. The teachers are going to do more. And all of the students are not just to get by. Don't do enough to get by. Do more so you can have the most bright future. If I can end up getting a doctorate degree with no education and no support until way later, sometimes the people in your life is not blood. For me, my family is not blood. But my family is wonderful and strong and community.
Beautiful. I'll give you one more. This is something
Yes,
that
please.
changed my life, right? I love myself.
Yeah.
Just reminding that every day, right? When you think of something that you have to do and you're like, I don't want to do it. I love myself, so I have to do this. You know, like, like you're sitting down like, I don't want to get up, or like, I don't want to work out today. I love myself, so I got to go to work out. You know, like, that's something that changed. Like my daily pays too, you know.
Right.
So yeah, self-love and empathy, self-love. I really feel like I try and share with youth my story of resilience, and I say resilience through empathy, self-love, and self-responsibility, right? And empathy towards yourself, because you gotta, not beat yourself down so much when you do make those mistakes. I love mistakes, and I learned to love mistakes, and I learned that, we can only learn from mistakes, right? And so I tell them, like, I've had students come into my space and tell me, like, oh, I made a mistake, or, I shouldn't have done this, and crying, and I'm just like, okay, like, thank you for acknowledging, but, like, don't be so hard on yourself, like, mistakes that now not to do that, okay? Like, now like, next time maybe you can do it this way and not get into this situation. And so now look at it and learn from this. And I feel like I learned so many lessons growing up, and just having that empathy towards myself and others, and giving back, right? Giving back is so important, because it's in Lakesh, yes, we're connected, right?
Connected,
and just, let's talk a little bit about, the connect is in Lakesh Alakin, which means you are the other me, I am here because of you. And so it's like a Mayan, sort of a way of living, where they greet each other like that in Lakesh, and so it, to me, it also means like that we're all connected, right?
Right.
As people, but even to the earth, right? We're all connected to everything, right? And so that's why we are the connect. Because I mean, I feel like we like to. That's what humans we need to connect with each other, right? And we need to understand as a community, whether it's in a after school program, or in a school, or out there in the community. There's a poem of the In Lakesh poem that says, "You are the other me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself." Right? I have that on our program door, the poem. Like, when you're walking into our program, remember, you are the other me. It takes some time to start to build that community, with our young people. But I don't give up. I just think that, okay, it's the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year, hopefully they know this poem, and they maybe take some months, take it with them, and they know it, and it becomes.
And
next
even
year,
subconsciously, it's something that they're seeing every day. Like, they might not even know the difference or change that it's gonna make within them, but it definitely will.
Yeah, and it's that's why I wanted the Connect to be this podcast also, where we're really connecting people to amazing other people and stories, and just like, and connecting, and really connecting with each other as we're telling these stories, and that's just
and shining the light
Yes.
on these magical, beautiful spaces.
yes.
Just shining the light, letting people know, because we're bombarded with all this negativity
Yes.
all day, every day,
all day,
like all the
Social
time, social
media.
media everywhere. So
It's
like,
also reported
it's
back.
it's really important to just be able to broadcast spaces like this and shine the light on them. I have one more question.
Yes, please.
So we have talked about like the uniqueness of LLA, right? Even like just walking into this space is like, whoa, it's like an art gallery. It's so beautiful. I guess the question is like, what is like, if you can name one thing that is very unique about LLA that changes lives, what would you say it is?
As I said before, the overreaching philosophy is what I call radical love, and radical love includes all of the pieces of change. And, whether it be in concurrent enrollment, so that we have several students in colleges while they're in high school, it's so important to me to be connected with community organizations that are like-minded, that want to help and add to our students' lives. We toured some people the other day. They are going to fund 2 of our students to go on the Black College tour, the HBCU tour. And they were so excited because they toured them, and they weren't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that.
Wow.
These people came, these 2 students that are seniors, both live in the dorm. Just at the end, they said, we're funding you for spring break to go to HBCUs. So there's so much opportunity here. It is a matter of listening to them. And I also want to make everybody understand that all adults are over the pandemic. Our kids, teenagers, are not. They spent 2 years in isolation. And it's the time when they're supposed to be hanging out with their friends, going out, doing things, being social, being independent, all of the stuff that they couldn't do. So I've really noticed kids coming back and having a hard time coming out of depression. We finally found a therapist that I have coming here 3 times a week, and several students seeing her. So it made me very happy, because I was really trying hard to find somebody that can just be here and see kids all the time. And that's what they're mostly talking about.
Yeah.
Coming out of isolation, masks off, hoods down a little bit,
Yeah.
showing your beauty and who
Yes.
you are.
Yeah.
And we're more and more seeing that. It just makes me very happy every single day for 25 years. I never get tired of seeing their faces.
Yes. I want to add, housing is very, very unique, right?
Yeah.
To the schools. I don't know anybody else who's doing it. Housing, those beautiful dorms with beautiful furniture, just all this quality that that you get to tell the students, you deserve this.
That's right.
You deserve a
That's
space like this. Don't think otherwise.
That's right.
And laundry, and just super homey, like home feel in there. And so it's beautiful to see that they have that space.
And then the dinners and lunch
The
together,
lunches.
like sitting, even like growing up, I didn't have, like, we didn't sit down at home and eat. My mom worked all day, we kind of just, it was at the time 3-4 of us, and we just kind of found whatever we found in the kitchen, so it's like, and now, like, as a mother, I'm like, okay, no, we're gonna sit down and have dinner every day. And then, like, it's important, like, to have that moment with family, and like, so like for kids that are not able to have that outside, like, to be able to have that implemented in this is their home, it's their home, they're living here, they're learning here, and it's like just so many avenues for opportunity that they are able to have here. That's so unique. So unique.
And it's like one of the students, he's been in my dorm for a year. He made a mistake, whatever. And he said, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, when am I going to be put out? I said, let me tell you something. You know, we love you. This is your family. This is your second family, whatever you want to call it. You'll make your mistakes, you'll fix them, and we're going to move on. And it teaches them that if they just stop for a minute and think before they do something, they can live that way for the rest of their lives. And I mean, you know, we had somebody that next week we're going, all the kids are going, the dorm kids, there's 14 of them now, 14, yeah, with the older one, because I just moved a 19-year-old back in. And she's been in for about a month, but she graduated from here and called me up and said, I'm becoming homeless. My mom has fallen apart. I don't know what to do. And I said, you're coming into the dorm. You need to get back on track. She is all the way back on track. She is finishing a medical assistance course for 4 months. She's done. She's already in a paid internship. She will stay here until she finishes that, has a job, and finds housing. And that's the whole picture for those that need living space.
Yeah.
It became harder and harder for us to go home every day knowing that we had students in our school that didn't have safety. And that's why we built a dorm.
And then, so, okay, lastly, because I know we're like a little bit short on time now. You built the dorm like right smack in the middle of the pandemic, right? So how did that affect the way, like what it became?
So the difference between then and now is that my job during that time was to keep kids safe. There was no program. Couldn't have a program because they had to be in their rooms pretty much all the time. One kid got COVID, and so I moved in for 2 weeks with my friend who also lives there. And we just cooked food. We had people bringing food and bringing them food and eating. And, you know, it was tough. And they're doing their work online. But there was no program. When that ended, we have a program. We have a structure. We have movie night. We have game night. We have things that we're going to hope they'll take with them when they leave for their families, for their younger siblings, to have them out of their rooms, off their phones for a while, and interacting and being with family. And these are life-changing lessons that they're learning.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. This is beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much again.
You guys want to come work here?
Yeah.
You guys are going to come and speak to my kids
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
You guys are beautiful. And I, you know, in every way, and I really want you to come back and speak at our morning meeting to our students because you know, not too far from their age, really can give them the kind of inspiration that they need seeing people, young women like you. So thank you. I'm honored to be here and be a part. You and I bonded the minute we met.
Yes.
So I think that's going to go a long ways.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Teri. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. Seriously, I mean, I feel like I hope that we can support any future endeavors as well and work alongside each other because, you know, like I told you before, I always dreamed of a place like this and I didn't really know that it existed as far as even including the housing, and I would just see all the issues around me working with middle schoolers and high schoolers in our communities, and I just don't really understand the politics yet and understand why there isn't more of this and why there isn't money being put more into this, right? Because right now, Oakland, you know, all I see is the youth need, you know, a space where they can get away from the constant things that are going on. I mean, I have a big heart for Oakland. I love Oakland. I lived in East Oakland for 7-8 years almost, and I worked in that community. I did a lot of work in that community. Actually, is where community work started for me when I was 19 years old, and you know, doing circles and restorative justice circles for victims of crime, right? So someone would, you know, when someone would die of gun violence and they were going to a high school or middle school, we would show up and do restorative justice circles for their friends, right? And we would support the families through, and Ruben used to do some work too with us, and through that as well, and we would go to the funerals and things like that, and I say that to say that, man, I have such a heart for Oakland, but I just feel like Oakland could really use a lot of spaces like this, a lot of small home spaces like this, a lot of schools that show that same love, because I often think that, you know, not sure what's going on in the schools, but it starts there too. You know, it does start there with the people that are there, because a lot of those students are there that is a big chunk of their day and their life, and those adults, you know, need to really, you know, we got to figure out what we're going to do to hear about all the shootings that are happening, and, you know, young people just, you know, it breaks my heart, and I want to, you know, why not more of this? Why you know, where's the money at, and where is it going? Is my question. Like, because
I love that.
I need to know. We need to find out where this violence prevention money is going. You know, all these initiatives, California coming in and showing up. Okay, where is the money and where is it going? Because we need to get Teri on this table, and Teri, we right behind you, next to you. You know, to get some things rolling, because I'm tired of young people dying. I'm just sick of it. I'm tired. It cannot continue this way. It's from working since I was 19, what is it, 2009, all the way until now. Like, come on, why is it still such a big thing? Where's the money? Where we know it's there, and what are we really doing? Because the statistic has to change. It has to be like less. Like, can we just have zero? Can we have zero killings? You know?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You know, but just everywhere, right? I work with even, you know, newcomers that are barely coming over here and trying to, you know, find their way here by themselves. They come from their countries by themselves, and they see a lot on the way, and they're and they have to figure out life. I have 17-year-olds living on their own, like paying $1,000 rent for a room in San Francisco, having to work, you know, through the night, like 2 different jobs, and still have to go to school, because part of their immigration process is that they have to be in school, right? And so they got to survive, they got to eat, and they got to be in school. So it's like, how could we, you know, they need that support as well, you know. So all the way around in San Francisco, and just where's the money, y'all? Let us know.
And that's why these places are just so important, right? And like just broadcasting this stuff and bringing it out to the world and letting people know, like, yo, we're here, and listen and help these youth, you know. So like, as youth advocates now, like, this is our space where we step in and demand what is needed for our youth, you know. So again, thank you so much for
the inspiration.
The inspiration.
Thank you for your inspiration.
Really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in to the Connect. Stay tuned. You know, we have a lot more like episodes like this coming for you all, and we will definitely keep on shining the light on LLA. We'll be telling the world everything
we're
that
gonna share
you all
website information. We're gonna share Instagram information. We're gonna share.
Well, by the time this video is out, the link is probably below wherever we're posting. So go take a look at that and check this out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Teri.
Thank you so much.